You made it.
There. I'll tell you what, they got the fucking place down.
You don't know either, so
It's a whole way.
he's got a video to show, and then we have some board members joining remotely, so I'm just going to plug in through the projector, you know.
I mean, they got something they're gonna tell you to do here, then.
I'm just going to turn on the projector and use the press run for the sound there.
Yeah, that's all I do.
Yeah.
Is it HDMI or?
It's VGA.
Oh, good. It's HDMI formatted.
3.5 millimeter.
Follow, so we're good.
Yeah.
We should be good.
Okay.
Hey, Mike. Mike. Check your mic real quick.
Yes, sir.
Didn't know that was the last one.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Mr. Ronaldo? Here. Mr. Marshman? Here. Mr. Lake? Here. Mr. Martin? Here. Mr. Martucci? Here. Mr. Mondial? Here. Mr. Candela?
Here.
Mrs. Sangston?
Here.
Mr.
Here. Stand for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance. Do I have a motion for the minutes of the previous meeting? Second. Motion and second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I have a motion for the payment of general and federal fund bills. Motion and second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Do I have a motion for the payment of cafeteria fund bills? Motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. No public comment items tonight. Moving to athletics, please, Mr. Mondial.
Thank you. Request permission for the district to post the position of Director of Buildings and
No, Mr. Athletics, Mr. Mondial. Mr. Saxon is on remote.
I don't have it in front of me. I agree.
Can you read it, Mrs. Saxon, or you want Mr. Mondial to read it?
No, I just want to read it.
Mr. Mondial, please.
Oh, yes. Request approval of the following supplemental contract for the 2020-21 school year, contingent upon receipt of a signed contract no later than 1 month after issuance, including the posting of the position if the contingency is not met. The position is Ed Junior High Wrestling Coach and Nickelodeon. And I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Is that all you have, Mr. Mondial?
Oh, that's all I have. Let's see, Mr. Lake, you have anything? Mr. Evans? That's all we have.
Thank you. Moving to buildings and grounds, please.
Thank you. One item today. Request permission for the district to post the position of Director of Buildings and Grounds previously held by Danny Boggs to all qualified in-house applicants interested in the position. Deadline for the application shall be 4 p.m. On December 18th, 2020, followed by interviews open to all board members starting on Monday, December 21st, 2020, and I so move.
Question? I need a second, please.
Second.
Motion and second. Question?
Yes, I believe, and I could be wrong, that position is for supervisor not a director.
Supervisor of Buildings and Grounds?
Correct.
What?
That's the way I thought it was.
Co-director. It's co-director of Buildings and Grounds. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call, please.
Mr. Ronaldo?
Yes.
Mr. Marshman? Mr. Lake?
Yes.
Mr. Martray? Mr. Martucci?
No.
Mr. Mondale?
Yes.
Mr. Manzella?
No.
Mrs. Saxon?
Yes.
Mr. Matt?
Yes.
Can I comment on that real quick, Mr. O'Malley?
Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, my reason for a no vote is due to the fact that I don't know all the details on this particular position. So once I get some more details on what it's going to cost the district and why we need this position, because in my opinion, I think Mr. Kirsch is doing a fabulous job as it is. So I'm just curious why we need this extra position. So once I get some more information on it, I'll have a better insight on what I want to do as far as when it comes to hiring for that position.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Martucci, I wasn't sure you were coming tonight. We talked about this in executive session about posting this position. And we can have some more information for you going forward.
Whoa. That's not what we discussed in executive session. That was
well,
not executive session.
Yeah, you're correct, Mr. Longello. We discussed it on the position, yes. Or Mr. Lake, I'm sorry. Anything else, Mr. Longello?
Mr. Martray, do you have anything? Mr. Saxon, do you have anything?
No, no.
Mr. Kirsch, do you have anything? That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to Carnegie Free Library, please, Mr. Horstman.
I have nothing, Mr. O'Malley. Mr. Martucci? Mr. Panzella?
Well, thank you.
We have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Moving to Collinsville Area Career and Technical Center display.
Mr. Martucci, you have anything? Mr. Mondale?
Nothing.
I think Mr. James said he couldn't be here today.
No, not here.
That's all we have, thank you.
Thank you. Curriculum, Mr. Ronaldo?
We have nothing further tonight to report. Mr. Mortray, anything? Mrs. Sangston?
Nothing.
Thank you. Dr. Koontz? That's all we have under curriculum, Mr. O'Malley.
Thank you. Moving to federal programs. Oh, I'm sorry, cyber. I missed one. Cyber, Mr. Panzella. Mr. Harshman, will you take that, please?
Thank you. I have nothing. Mr. Ronaldo?
I have nothing.
Dr. Stark? Mr. Rose?
Thank you. Moving to federal programs, Mr. Martucci.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. We have no agenda items at this time. Mrs. Sangston, do you have anything to add?
Nothing.
Mr. Mortray? That's all, Mr. O'Malley. Thank you.
Moving, is that all we have, I believe, on the federal? Moving to finance, Mr. Longello.
Thank you. Three items today. Item number one, request the approval of the accelerated budget opt-out resolution certifying tax rate within inflation index and no need to comply with Act 1 accelerated budget procedures for the 2021-2022 school year as proposed. And I so move.
We have a motion, we have a second. Mr. Martucci. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Item B, request the approval of the Board of School Directors of the Connersville Area School District agree to enter into a contract for $5,184 with RBA Professional Data Systems Incorporated in State College, PA, for processing the school district's 2020 Act 1 notices. And I so move.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And the last item, accept a monetary donation from the Pepperack family in memory of Patty Pepperack for the cosmetology program at the Connersville Area Career and Technical Center in the amount of $1,200, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And Mr. Ronaldo, do you have anything?
Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Panzella?
Nothing, thank you.
And Mrs. Grinnell?
Thank you, Mr. Montel. There's been questions as how our budget to actual for last year for our general fund ended up. And we will have a detailed presentation next month for Mr. Turnley, our CPA. However, I wanted to just give you a very quick, brief overview of where we ended up. If you look at the first page of the budget to actual, our net change ended up being approximately $1.9 million to the good. Our revenues, and I'll go into the revenues a little bit later, our revenues were almost exactly what we budgeted in total. It was only about $12,000 less than what we budgeted, and on a $75 million budget, that's really about as close as you can get in total. I'll go through some of the major differences in that in a minute. But as far as expenditures go, of course we all know we shut the school down in the middle of March, and we have a lot of areas where we did not spend the money because certain expenditures didn't need to take place at that point. If you look in almost all areas, you can see, for example, student activities, we're down $225,000. Our major amount out of the 1.8 was 1.6 in our transportation costs that were not paid to we did not have to pay to the bus drivers. There was $145,000 that we didn't pay in supplies for operation of maintenance and plant. Some of the other larger areas was vocational programs. We were down $329,000. That's probably because we didn't have all the supplies in all the shops. Our regular programs, we were down another $323,000. But if you look very closely, one of the major areas where we were over budget with special programs was close to $1 million over budget. And as we talked about how special education costs have increased and increased, if we would not have had to shut down for COVID and we paid all the expenses that we budgeted, we would have probably been $1 million over budget last year instead of the 1.8 we are to the good. Now, when Mr. D'Amico came on board as our special education director, and with this year's budget coming up, we met, because we knew there was an issue in special education costs, we tried to identify down to students practically where this money is going. And a lot of it has to do with the outside services. I won't go into a whole bunch of detail, but we really think after this year's budget, we close that gap and we won't see this for when we do the budget to actual for 2021. Okay? We hope that. But if you look at the second page of what I gave you, I wanted to show you a 5-year analysis of the special education costs. And from 2016 to 2020, our subsidy on average in 5 years has only increased about 1% per year. However, our expenditures have gone up on average 5.36%, with the last year from 19 to 20 being up 10%. Over 10%. And when you combine the revenue shortfall that we keep getting to the expenditures increasing, it just becomes a big budget area that we need to really have to sharpen our pencil and look at. And I think we did it this year, but it's something that's very hard to budget because you never know how many more special need children are going to be identified, and that can throw anything off. So I just wanted you to be aware that we hope that this budget, again, we hope that we took care of it for the 2020-21 budget. I wanted to just speak a little bit about revenues, and even though we were in total $12,000, within $12,000, if you look closely, we received over $800,000 more in local revenues, which were two main areas. The first one was about $400,000 in the delinquent real estate taxes that the Tax Claim Bureau had sent to us. That was years and years of back delinquent taxes that will not probably happen in subsequent years. I don't know, but we're not going to be probably seeing it again. And we received about another $400,000 from the IU for federal revenue directly from the IU, which comes back as a local source. That's not really a federal source. And I believe that is access billings for our special needs students that come to us from the IU for the services they provide. So as we are spending more for physical therapy or occupational therapy, whatever services they're providing, you can see that corresponding increase where the IU is billing for those medical services for access. So that's showing up. Our state subsidy was about $675,000 lower than what we budgeted. And that mainly came from our Social Security subsidy was reduced about $300,000, and our retirement subsidy was reduced by $300,000. And keep in mind, by the time we send the budget into the state, we already have numbers from the state telling us what it should be for next year. And it's calculated, so we're not getting what they're even telling us what we should be getting for next year, calculating out. Federal revenues were down $161,000, and about 100 of that was Title IV money, which we did not receive because that, of course, has to do with teacher development costs, and we didn't pay for teacher development costs, so we obviously can't get reimbursed for that. And our in-house access money was down by about $127,000. So although it evens out, you can see where all components together, there's increases, decreases, but $800,000 of local revenue that we seem to get as sort of a little bit of a windfall this year. At least 400 of the delinquent real estate taxes, I don't think we can count on that in future years. And I'm not going to go into any more detail because I think you can see for yourself. If you have any questions, I'll answer any questions on that.
You know, just, if you could, you send this maybe in order, make sure Mr. Vanzella gets it before you take out what's going to be allowed.
Sure.
Thank you. He's on the committee, so please more.
Any other questions? One other item. We had talked about the musical and the rights and the cost of the musical and whether or not we can have the musical this year. And I spent most of the morning today with Mrs. Harbaugh. And we had a very good conversation, and I'm just going to relay to her what we talked about. As far as the license go, the current license that they had proposed, it's not signed for yet, was April 21st to the 25th with performance days. But this new company gives us the option to move the performance to later months if necessary. So before this, we always used a company. If you didn't use those dates, you were done. And the license could be like around $20,000. We think that this license will come in between 5 and 10, depending on what the attendance is at the musical. And it will slide. They will agree to slide. They have a COVID clause in there for it. So that is why we're going to select this new company, and everything will be completely based on COVID and how we can do it. And nothing will be signed until you approve it and have a chance to look at it, and we will probably be getting that contract in the next several weeks. But this new company does allow for COVID clauses. We can even push it back. She says the staff is very committed to providing a musical for the students. If they have to push it into May and June or whatever they have to do, they will do it, and they will make sure the license allows for that if we do that. The other question we had is, I know we talked about the approval of the list of supplemental contracts for the musical. And she wanted us to please still approve that with the stipulation that nothing would be paid. We can't pay for anything until that contract is signed anyway. Just so that they would have a list of names that you would approve, because they would be willing to volunteer their time until that contract is signed, or they have a formal approval to go ahead. Because there are certain things that they need to do, such as measure the stage and design the sets. And there would be no cost outlay or anything, but they wanted to get a head start on that, so if the governor would say you're open to do this, that they could go with the ground running and start doing that right away. So I told her I would bring that to you. So that's why they wanted to have the staff and volunteer list approved tonight if possible. If not, she understands. Yes, Ms. Blake.
Question on budget. I know that you said, can't we incorporate Title IV into Title I?
I can't hear you.
Can't we incorporate Title IV into Title I, into Title I? Salary or anything else?
I don't
I think we have in
know.
the past.
That's a question for Dr. Kennedy, not me.
Title IV can be transferred into Title I if we need to tolerate another. Yeah, I believe we did that in the past. All right.
They can do it themselves.
So she, again, getting back to the musical, she said that they would like to get started as soon as possible with the volunteers. So so that they can provide their students with safer rehearsals, small groups extended over longer periods of time, and things like that. They would like to have permission to have Dr. Bradley and myself come to you with a license as soon as it is sent, and you all look at it and agree to it, because it can take up to 5 weeks from the time the payment is even made for the license to receive the license to do it from the company. It just takes time. I think that's it. She wanted to make sure you understood that she's really done everything that she can to make sure the license is flexible for dates, cancellations, everything like that.
I think, Marlene, what you said to me was she wants to, the motion we had on Monday night for everything in musical, she wants that put on, and that wants us to read it the night before, she wants it on. Is that right?
She would like the list of the volunteers and the staff approved. We would not pay for any staff at all. They would do no work until you said
If the governor
go.
tells us we can't do it, or if we can't do it in no way, then she's not going to help us.
She's not going to incur any cost. But she would like the volunteers approved, and if you approve the staff, they all agree, the staff, to volunteer until they know that it's, they legally can't do anything anyway, because until you get that license, you really can't start having rehearsals and start spending money for everything, but they can plan, and they can.
I see how we can't do it, and you also told me before we started, if she had to, she can move it clear back into June, 1st of June.
She says if we have to have it in the football field at the stadium to get everybody there and have performances, they'll do it. And have it outdoors. She says they will do anything they can.
Just now, the Secretary of Health, the Department of Health's order, and the governor's order was very specific on what is considered an extracurricular. It went well beyond athletics, well beyond sports, well beyond clubs, and we cannot meet, period. The earliest we can meet is January 4th at 8 a.m. And, it's a concern. Obviously, everyone on this board supports the musical. That's obvious of our love of the musical and our value that the students reach from being in the musical. My concern is sending messages to other extracurriculars that would be considered spring extracurriculars. Right now, we are not doing anything extracurricular-wise in any of the buildings. I appreciate the presentation, and I just wanted to give the board pause on the 2 orders that we are bound until January 4th at 8 a.m. So, Mr. Bradley, what's your recommendation? And wait to the January board meeting to approve the musical staff? Or can we approve them tonight with the understanding they can't do anything until they're given the green light by you?
I appreciate the second version. Approve it with a very, very strict and open and transparent stipulation that nothing, measuring stages, meeting with kids, meeting with students, auditions, anything of the like related to an extracurricular cannot take place. And this isn't the Connellsville School District's rule, this is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So, I mean, if everyone's on the same course, that page, that nothing at all, zero, measuring anything happens until January 4th, then charge forward with approving those 2 lists, with the caveat that no one receives any compensation unless it's for work rendered, similar to what we've done with every extracurricular this school year, and same application.
I think I can speak to just about everybody in here right now that will approve 100% the musical. When everything is clear and free and opened up. So if there's any question, I know the problem may be with the licensing, but the license is going to be the time for that license is going to be extended, right? What she said. So I think she could probably get around that right now. But the board's 100% in favor of the musical like we always do. But we just have to follow the rules and follow the guidelines for a very good reason. And hopefully down the road, this is going to happen.
So I'm not sure where we're at. Are we going to approve the list with the superintendent giving the green light?
What was the last part? I'm sorry.
Are we going to approve the list with you then giving the green light when they can start anything? In other words, if the governor comes says on January 10th you can do it, we don't have a board meeting to the end of the month, so you'd be able to give the green light.
I believe that's respectful to Ms. Harbaugh's wishes and
Okay.
desire to operate from here. That's very in line with what she asked for this afternoon.
Solicitor, could you weigh in on that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I'm reading a motion that pulls together all of the items that you talked about. I think you'd want the motion to be to approve the production staff condition upon obtaining necessary licensing, but enabling such staff to serve in an uncompensated volunteer capacity until such licensing is obtained, and upon the ability to perform extracurricular activities under current state orders, but subject to potential termination in the future based on subsequent orders from the state. And then with the corollary of stipends will be prorated. So I can write all that out.
Okay, can you write that out, and then when we get to student services, we get that thing.
Yep.
Finish with finance. Moving to food service, please.
Thank you, Mr. Matt. Thank you, Mr. Matt. I believe Mrs. Baser sent that in addition to Mr. Bradley, which I can get off him and read that.
On behalf of,
It's basic to
I'd like to announce the
you're into our community for food service. At Christmas season, we recognize how important our district provided food service is to our students on a daily basis. To account for meals over the holidays, Collinsville is making available holiday bundles. Each bundle will consist of 7 days worth of breakfast and 7 days worth of lunch per child. They will be distributed on December 22nd curbside at all district buildings and will be available for pickup regardless of which building your child attends. Please note the holiday meal bundles will not be sent home with students if we are face-to-face for that day, December 22nd. Pre-registration is required by December 17th, and this is important, that's tomorrow. We really need anyone in our community that's interested in the holiday meal bundle to get on and register for that meal bundle and what building they're going to pick up tomorrow. We're hoping to close that down around 1 p.m. Our online form, which is located at CASD-Falcons.org. And lastly, we encourage everyone to participate in this program, help ensure our students do not go hungry over Christmas. At this point, at noon today, a little bit after noon, 12:15, we had 385 individual students signed up. That equates to 5,390 meals in all 7 of our buildings. So that's quite, generous, and it's quite an accomplishment for our food service workers. And we see the need in our community, and we're grateful that our board allows us to do such endeavors for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley, for reading that. And I believe that's all we have. Mr. Panzella, doing that. Mr. Harshman?
Nothing, thank you.
That's all, Mr. O'Malley, thank you.
Thank you. Moving to personnel review and liaison, Mr. Martrey.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. We request approval for Molly Gibson, teacher, to take a child care leave of absence for the second semester of the 2021 school year. I so move.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
request for a long-term substitute. Request approval to hire Jonathan Clark as a long-term science substitute teacher at middle school for the second semester of the 2021 school year, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Another long-term substitute, request approval to hire Seth Minor as a long-term special education substitute for the remainder of the 2021 school year, effective January 4th, 2021. I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Sabbatical request approval for Lisa Smith, Spanish teacher, to take a sabbatical leave of absence for the second semester of the 2021 school year, and I so move.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Leave of absence request approval for Kimberly Noskus to cafeteria to take a leave of absence for up to 90 days effective December 11th, 2021. I so move.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Leave of absence request approval for Karen Basinger, cafeteria, to take the leave of absence for up to 90 days effective January 4th, 2021. I so move.
Motion second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Retirement, request approval to accept the retirement of Amy Porter, teacher, effective February 26, 2021, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Another retirement, request approval to accept the retirement of Robert Taylor, custodian, effective March 26, 2021, and I so move.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Secretary hiring, request approval to appoint Vicki McLean as a 12-month secretary effective December 16, 2020. So moved.
Motion second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
I think that's all we have, Mr. O'Manick. I'd like to wish Amy Porter, Robert Taylor, and then last month we had Tammy Gresh and Johnny Meyer the very best in their retirement and for their service to the district. And that's all I have. Mr. Rinaldo, do you have anything additional? Mr. Mongeau? Mr. Bradley? That's all we have.
Thank you. Moving to policy and legislative, Mr. Horstman.
Thank you, Mr. O'Manick. Before I start, I'd like to make one change on the motion. December 18th through January the 8th, 2021. Request approval of the Collinsville Area School District to go virtual beginning December 18th through January 8th, 2021. And for the superintendent to have a program in place for our staff. And I so move.
Question.
Motion second, a question.
Brownlee, is this what you have in place? Is this basically what you give us money there for instruction that they would do while they're off on
So
the learning?
we've been setting student expectations. Part of the feedback we've received from a number of our teachers is that the student expectation when we are virtual, whether it's a Wednesday during our hybrid model or the days that we completed virtually after Thanksgiving, that our students need to be more accountable, and we appreciate that. And they're challenged with a lot, and our students are dealing with a lot of social, emotional health issues as well, but we do need them to be accountable. We developed a sharing document for our families that will outline our student accountability expectations. There is a sister document to that for our teachers. We are challenged by the availability of some of our senior leadership of the CAEA due to how busy they are throughout their day, and we respect how busy they are throughout their day, and we need to move forward and do more synchronous education. If I have a senior student and their third period starts at 11:02, they should be on at 11:02 and the teacher should be in front of them, and that's been loud from our parents and that's been loud from our board members, that is the desire. We have been, I also have a presentation later in the board meeting that will detail a student's view of how to complete virtual education. I'm concerned, and point of order, the superintendent to have a program in place for our staff. That sounds very evaluative, and that's not, I'm all for that, but that sounds very evaluative
and I will look for Mr. Witt to see how that will be evaluated as far as implementation of the program.
So, yes, I mean, I think that with the ability for us to go virtual and the ability to reset any 14-day windows, that our teachers will rise to the occasion and our students will rise to the occasion to make this happen. It's been a challenge to facilitate meetings, and we, Dr. Coons and I have made up programs that we think are very effective. We know our teachers, there are many, many teachers providing synchronous education right now on our Wednesdays, and if we need to make that, to use a passé word, we need to make that contagious. We have many teachers that are on at that 11:02 for their third period class, and they're conducting those online lessons. We need that to be consumed, and we need that to be the norm. And we would much rather move in a celebratory track of honoring teachers that are doing it rather than a negative track of who's not doing what. We'd much rather move in a celebratory track.
That's just in terms of what he was given for what the district recommended. There was nothing on there that was being synchronous online learning for a period of time. So that's all I was saying.
Yeah, as you're aware, the board passed and approved 9-0 a COVID MOU that was specific for Wednesdays. It was specific to Wednesdays, and the MOU would be something that we would want to make sure we do not challenge, and we think this is a great opportunity for our students.
Mr. Romanek, I have a couple items here that I did some research on this. I talked to some local medical experts questioning why we are not following the suggestions to go virtual at this time. It's critical here now. Now's the time to do our part. Local hospitals are pleading with people to follow suggestions. Substantial rate of transmission. Suggestion is for Fayette County to operate virtually at this time. What are we providing? Only funds not to follow suggestions. What are we proving that the only funds not to follow suggestions? COVID is everywhere around us. Spread here is beyond control. What we can do is to limit the point of contact, which is the school, to slow down the rate of transmission in the area. We saw a spike after Thanksgiving gathering, just as the experts predicted. We know it's going to be far worse after Christmas. This is an issue far bigger than CASD, but our actions contribute to the transmission in the community. Almost 70% of our families are opting to keep their kids home at this time. Why do you think that is? They're afraid of the virus. They're buckling up and taking this seriously now, and it's here and it's hitting hard. We cannot control what the kids do when they're not in school, just like we can't control what they do in the evenings or weekends. That is on the families. We need higher expectations for the students to get on at certain times of the day. That's what other districts are doing. We need to quit making this about our staff. This is about our community, people in the community. This is not a vacation for them. We are beyond the way things were in the spring. It's time to start focusing on the poor actions of several staff members and lack of discipline from administration and to do what is right in our community. COVID is bigger than personal opinions of our staff. Comparing to Walmart stores is ridiculous. These are kids and staff together all day in the same building, not passing someone in the store. We've got a lot of staff bending over backwards now for our kids. And that is the time being thrown at them is hate. It really doesn't sit well with those staff members who come here and continue to put in 120% effort in their work. our rate of transmission, I believe it's, we're somewhere around 5,000 confirmed cases and over 50 deaths. I think we need to do our part. We have there's a district in Washington, I believe it is, that they are shutting down, not because of the COVID cases they have, they're shutting down because of their community. I think that's what we need to do here. Respect our community. Do what is right for them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Bradley, with this virtual, again, I'm taking what you just said, we're going to be going synchronous now, because this is approved tonight, correct? That's what you were saying here a moment ago?
Right now, the only governing document that exists in the Collinsville School District is the MOU that was for for virtual education during COVID on Wednesdays. That states that there can be a mix of synchronous and asynchronous, and many teachers have been synchronous during that time period, and we applaud those efforts. There is no governing document for any virtual days. So I'm concerned of putting something out there in the public that will come back to haunt us, specifically, during this public debate. As far as safety is concerned, that would be much more appropriate for executive session, as this is a safety concern.
Well, what I think I'm looking at on this whole situation, I know what Mr. Harshman was saying back here, the flattening of the numbers haven't gone down, that's for certain. But we need to have some consistency and some structure and accountability for everyone involved in our educational program. And I think that synchronous would give us that, but I don't know what other options we have.
I want to make it crystal clear that this board and this administration have complied and followed the recommendations for pre-K to 12 schools following identification of cases of COVID-19 while face-to-face. Those rolling windows are 100% being followed. We are in constant communication with the Department of Health, and we do not make that communication lightly, and we do not do that with a singular person. So with that stated, as far as compliance with our attestation form, we have been 100% compliant with our attestation form. And that has happened November 23rd through December 7th when we came back to face-to-face. So the rolling windows started on December 7th when we returned to it.
I fully believe that I apologize.
As for this microphone, this is a pretty much a consistent situation whenever I speak at board meetings. I apologize. So I do believe our students want synchronous. I do believe our teachers want synchronous. I much want to avoid grievances and negativity and who said, she said, and just the sea of negativity that is happening right now. I would much look for better negativity.
Any further questions? Mr. Bradley, I'd asked you earlier if you thought there were any other, you said there was nothing, activities at the elementary school, but you weren't sure about classroom activities for Christmas.
We pulled the elementary principals for Christmas-type celebrations, and there were in-class, but nothing building-wide, nothing district-wide. There may have been a few crafts that are made typically around the holidays. Those were planned, but there were no building-wide or district-wide celebrations such as Polar Express Day and wear your pajamas and things like that. We did not have any building or district-wide holiday celebrations planned due to COVID-19.
Are those classrooms, were significant value?
On that, I didn't ask how many teachers in which building, just, we know they exist.
I just didn't want to make sure people were sending stuff in, presents and that kind of thing.
I have no report on, supplies and presents and things like that.
And just one more comment from me anyway. I thought I read in our return to school plan, it mentions in there fall program synchronous, asynchronous, and we could do any of those. And I think that's what the board approved.
That's correct, Mr. O'Matic, and we know it's a minority of students. There are some students that have limited internet access, and there are other students that, because of life circumstances, complete their education outside of the school. They may be, for whatever reason, wait till mom gets home, dad gets home, and that's when they pick up their education. And the Pennsylvania Department of Education is very clear that
One gauge of attendance and
completion of work is the other gauge of attendance. So by completing work, you are indicating that you have attended, and that's not a Connellsville policy, that's a Pennsylvania Department of Education, that's a Department of Education policy, that to prove attendance, it can be through interaction, face-to-face interaction or virtual interaction, or through the completion of work, or both. And that was included on our drafts that I supplied to the board as well. There was a chart indicating different ways to account for attendance. That's all levels, sir.
All you have to do for elementary is log on to home and you're credited for being there. Whether you do the work or not. That, Mrs. Cooper, Dr. Cooper, is that right? Do something during the day, like maybe do one of the homework assignments, one of the Google assignments?
Correct.
But basically, if they do all their assignments, they're still called and told, please log on home. You see they're doing work, but you're not logging on. You're not, in other words, they can do the work, but they don't log on home, they don't have it down for the attendance.
The attendance is correct. The attendance is based on long run.
Right.
The assignments are in the classroom. So what we do for today is attendance. The students don't take attendance by the time the regular school day is done. That's what you said, remind them to take their attendance. Because students sometimes forget. Or they're doing it later in the evening, and they do not have to do it during the day. If their homework is done, it is correct.
Elementary is totally different than secondary. Because what we've been hearing, we've been having problems, teachers only been having 2 people show up in the classroom for secondary. And that's what some of the board discussed, to say, take a roll call. If you have out of your first period, something else, take a roll call. That's if they're doing synchronous online learning. In other words, if they don't attend the class, if they don't come to school, if they don't do anything, then you work them out. And if they have a bunch of talents.
And get recognized, there's a difference between attendance and the class versus attendance. So those are 2 separate things.
It would refer to the chart on the document that I provide of access and completion. So if a student accessed the education and he completed something, both of those are met, he's present. If the student, evidence of completion but not access, and this is from PDE, this isn't, myself or Dr. Kim's. So evidence of completion but not access, the student is present. Evidence of access but not completion, student is absent. And evidence of neither access nor completion of any work, the student is absent. So there's multiple, what we've seen across the IU, across Fayette, Washington, and Greene counties, is you have to attribute for completion of work and access.
Any further questions?
Correct.
I'd just like to say, this is nothing permanent. This is only 7 days of virtual. We just need to do this and help it bring down the numbers. I know that parents are out there, they want their kids to meet face to face. But we're looking at, 30% attendance. So we're actually at the minority.
We give them extra days, actually, when our numbers went out. That's what scares me. Our numbers went out when they were off. That's what scares me. And if we give them extra days in the we're going to have a full time.
Well, if we take it into the 8th, that's going to give us some more extra days, and hopefully if they do get the virus, then they'll have time to get over.
Anything further?
Just wanted to point out for the board, just to clarify, so the last portion of this motion is a delegation of authority to the superintendent in order to implement this. Just want to point that out to the board because there are some steps, MOUs and things like that that would need to be taken that would constitute a delegation of that authority. And in response to the question that was asked earlier, the inability of the implementation of this to be used for evaluation purposes, that would be an item for us to confirm and discuss in executive session.
Okay, thank you. The concerns that I get from parents that email is, I think what Mr. Lake and some other people, Mr. Martre, have been talking about. There's people at home that can't teach the students. And I just hope we get some cooperation from our staff and they understand the importance of being synchronous with the student all day when we are virtual. That's my last comment.
Mr. Martre is asking about implementation and communication with families. So, one announcement I would like to make is that tomorrow, Collinsville School District will be closed due to inclement weather. No teachers or students will report. The day is not virtual. Collinsville School District will be closed. We will use our school messenger system shortly to broadcast that information. The school district will be closed due to inclement weather. That day will be made up according to our board-passed calendar. Now, if the Mr. Harshman motion is passed, I believe there is sufficient time to communicate with families that they are going to be virtual for up until whatever day. As right now, the current motion is January 8th. So January 11th would be the next first face-to-face day that would then trigger our rolling window for our attestation form.
And most of the kids have their computers at home, correct? Since today was a virtual day.
I'm sorry, I was sidebarring with Mr. Witt. I'm sorry, Mr. Harshman.
We don't have to worry about the kids getting their computers for tomorrow or if this passes anytime.
Correct. I believe that the students were sufficiently prepared with Wednesday to take, and we sent out tentative communication Tuesday that, not knowing the weather, there could be a traditional snow day or, possible movement to synchronous, other virtual opportunities.
The first motion goes to the 8th, which is on Friday. You don't plan on coming back actually till
11th. Correct. That's the way I took the motion.
Saturday and Sunday.
Correct. I didn't want to speak for you, but yeah, on the 11th.
Yeah, be through including January 8th. Okay, no further comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Roll call, please.
Mr. Carson?
Yes.
Mr. Lake?
No.
Mr. Martre?
Yes.
Mr. Martucci? No. Mr. Mondell? Mr. Candela? Mr.
Mr.
Candela?
Panzella, can you hear us?
Mrs. Sangston?
Mrs. Sangston, can you hear us?
Mr. Ronaldo?
Yes.
And Mr. O'Malley?
Yes, and I hope our staff sees the importance of going synchronous learning.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. O'Malley.
Thank you. Moving to safety and security, please.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. We have nothing, I don't have anything. Mrs. Barlack, do you have anything? That's all we have.
Thank you. Special education, please.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Request approval for Dr. Shauna Little, Julie Bonham, Jill Udell, Janelle Narduzzi, Carol Oldham, Vicki Jordan, Julie Brown, staff to participate in the 2021 Virtual Partner in Education Conference, January 25 through the 28th, 2021, with the approximate cost of $2,000 for registration and substitute to be paid from the Penn Competitive Integrated Employee Grant, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Lape, anything further? Mr. Martucci? Mr. D'Amico? That's all we have. Thank you.
Committee meeting? Mr. Grimaldo, you had a committee meeting? On the bottom there.
The speakerphone. We had a virtual committee meeting on December 10th, 2020 at 5 o'clock, and that was the only issue that was covered, the one that we read and approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to student services, Mr. Monjo.
Thank you. Request the approval of the student teaching assignment with St. Vincent College for the 2020 and 2021 school year, and I so move.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And there was a virtual committee meeting held December 10th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. Mrs. Sangston.
Mr. Monjo, we have one more, please. Mr.
And while you'll digest that, Mr. Monjo, if you give me the privilege of honoring students that were to come to tonight's meeting. However, due to inclement weather, we thought it was in their best interest not to. The Student Service Committee, under the guidance of Mr. D'Amico and Mrs. Sangston, would like to further, on top of the board and on top of the building level, and there was a nice article in the paper that we were appreciative of writing, on behalf of the Fayette County Firemen's Association, the following winners from Collinsville School District were as follows. Grade 5, Lucille Hunt, first place, Springfield Township. Sarah Braycorn, honorable mention, West Crawford. Grade 6, Sophia Kocius, first place, Cams. Molly Greenwald, second place, Cams. Grade 7, Shermiah Davis, honorable mention, Cams. Maya Pearl, honorable mention, Cams. Gino Farrell, honorable mention, Cams. And our grade 8 winners were grade 8, Haley Nicholson, honorable mention, Cams. Emily Burkus, honorable mention, Cams. And Corlin Watson, honorable mention, Cams. Obviously, those students were to be honored tonight and get a physical presentation of the certificate that was created by
We will forward that.
their building principals for distribution. Thank you. Students in the essay contest.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley, and I've got to thank Mr. Zalak for bringing that to our attention. Thank you again, Mr. Zalak. Okay, Mr. Monjo.
Okay. We have one addition to student services. And this was written by an attorney, so give me a break if I miss anything up. Request approval of the following 2020-2021 Collinsville Area High School musical production staff for 4 performances. Conditioned upon obtaining necessary performance licensing and to authorize such persons to serve as an uncompensated volunteer capacity until such necessary performance licensing is obtained, and upon the ability to hold, proceed, and conduct extracurricular activities under state orders. Such agreements and appointments may be subject to earlier termination based on subsequent state orders. Stipends shall be prorated based upon work performed. And I so move.
Motion and second. Had a pretty good discussion about this earlier. Anybody else have any questions or comments? And Superintendent Gravy, you will explain to them that they cannot start until you give them the okay.
Correct. There will be a continuation of a great conversation we had.
We had a really great conversation for students, and it'll be just a continuation of that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And that's all we have.
That's all you have. Moving to technology, Mr. Horsham.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. I have nothing. Mr. Panzella? Mr. Martray? Mr. Ghost? We have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Transportation, Mr. Lake.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Mr. Manzel, are you there? Mr. Archer, do you have anything?
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Evans? Thank you. We have nothing.
Thank you. And on the President's report, I have nothing tonight. There's no public comment for non-agenda items. Mrs. Connell, anything else to add tonight? Nothing. Mrs. Coons, anything? Nothing. Superintendent, anything else?
I do. I thank the board for putting safety first of our students and our staff and caring for those students and staff. And there have been trials and tribulations. And consistently, since the recommendations for pre-K-12 schools following the identification of cases of COVID-19 that we put into effect on our first back to face-to-face day, December 7th, I have been fortunate to have examples of teachers sharing with me their synchronous opportunities. One teacher in particular shared with me from a student's lens. So I would like us to view a short video. This was produced by the CAMS digital media course under the direction of Mrs. Irwin. And it's a teachable moment. And number two, the student involved, Madeline Johnson, is one of our students that will be participating along with Robert Barrett, Logan Mullins, and Madison Graychick in our town hall virtually under Pat Stefano. So this is really the lens. If our students are doing what Maddie does, we will be very successful. We will be very successful, and we're very proud of the work she put into this video, and I'd like to show that video at this point. To celebrate, this is what our expectations are. Now, this is a middle school. It would be different a little bit, or an elementary or secondary, but Mr. Ghost.
Hello, I'm going to show you what a virtual day looks like from a student's perspective. So first, I open up my Chromebook and I go to Google and open up Clever to log into Alma. After I log into Alma, I'm going to come over here to this box to take my attendance, click on here, and if I'm at home, I hit present remote asynchronous. Scroll down and make sure you hit save. Some of our teachers send us a chat at the beginning of the class to let us know that we can go on and do an online meet with them. So next I open up my Google Classroom, which is down on the bottom bar, and then I would click on the class period that I should be in at the time. So right now I am in digital media. At the beginning of some classes, some teachers would want you to join a Google Meet, and they have the Google Meet link up here. So you click on it right here. And then you don't have to have your camera on. So to turn that off down here, There's a button right here for the camera and a button for the mic.
This is the Google Meet as my classmates begin to join for today's lesson. And this is my teacher in the Google Meet giving a live lesson where we can see her screen and hear her explain. We can participate in this lesson by clicking the raise hand feature and turning on our mic to speak. After the lesson, most teachers have us do our work and monitor us using GoGuardian.
So I'm going to look at my assignment.
We can reach out to them on either GoGuardian or Google Meet if we have any questions or need help. We can send our teachers a chat on GoGuardian or jump back onto the Google Meet to talk to them.
Now, if I have a question on here, I just hop back over. There's Yeah, I have a question on one of my video sound is still playing when I have music on.
Okay, I'm going to show your screen. I can see what's going on with that.
So to show my screen, I'll go and hit present now, and my entire screen. So this is where you can see everything that I'm working on and help me out and help me through it.
Okay, just scroll up in the editor a little bit down the bottom of the screen. It looks like video 3, that layer needs to have the sound on 0. You want the audio order to last.
Thank you, Mrs. Holman.
You're welcome. Can you guys get out? Just don't have a call.
Thank you. Throughout the day, you also check your Gmail too, because teachers will send you updates in there and different things like that.
In my Gmail, I can see different notifications that I received from my teachers today.
I was assuming I found it really helpful to go through my day as if I were in class and be in that class at the time, so that if I would have a question, my teachers would be available to answer me. And I also like to go into calendar and see what's due on that day and what day is due. And I can also go to my to-do list and see what I have to do next and how soon it's due, or go up and choose a class to see what step I have to in that class. You can also download Google Classroom, Gmail, Alma, and different things like Google Meets and stuff on your phone, so that if you wouldn't get an email from someone, then it would pop up on your phone if you didn't have your Chromebook with you. But virtual learning is not the same as in school, but the best advice I have is to just do everything virtually as you would do in school, and at the same time, and just do your best and connect with your teachers.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for helping us show that. I applaud Ms. Irwin.
And digital media, CAM students, Maddie being a stellar example. And you can see that that was in real time, there was teacher interaction, and we know we have many, many teachers doing that, and we have many, many students doing that on our virtual days, and that will now be our expectation moving forward until January 11th when we come back face-to-face based on the most recent motion. I thank you. That's a great example. We know there are people that need help. We know that there are students, there's families, there's grandparents that are working with their students that need help, and we encourage them to reach out to us as administrators, reach out to their classroom teacher as well. With that said, I want to remind the district that an all-call will be going out for tonight, that tomorrow, Collinsville Area School District is closed due to inclement weather. That day will be made up according to the previously passed board calendar. Again, we are closed. We are not virtual tomorrow. We will start virtual on Friday, the 18th, and run right through virtually until January 8th, and our next face-to-face day will be January 11th at Collinsville Area School District. We will also publicize that on our website and through other communications to our families.
They're only going virtual Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they'll actually be off till.
Yeah,
They won't be virtual until the week after the 4th, and then it'll be virtual for
Thank you for clarifying, yes, yeah, thank you for clarifying, yeah. Well, virtual on schools that we have in session days, correct, thank you for clarifying, yeah, so the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th will be virtual, and that's our first day back after New Year's. Thank you for clarifying that, yes, we will make sure the communication is as concise and clear as we possibly can. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I have something.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Lee.
Yep.
This is something that was sent to all of our emails. And this is national news on one of those things that they send us all the time. Every school record got this. It has spelling grades on the rise in the schools using remote learning. School districts from coast to coast have reported the number of student spelling classes has risen by as many as 2 to 3 times, with English language learners and disabled and disadvantaged students, which we have a high percentage of, suffering the most. It also says that it goes on to tell you below it is preschool age. We're going to have a problem next year with kindergarten because also in preschool they're not learning anything, so they're not going to be ready for kindergarten. But this is sent to every school director. This was on it, and it had a bigger story about how we're suffering by going over there. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Mr. Romanek, I have a question for Mr. Bradley. You had thought about sending the teachers home earlier today, giving them an early dismissal. Is that normally the way that you're going to do that? I mean, by speaking to asking board members for their opinion on that. Normally, when you get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, when you and Mr. Evans decide whether we're going to have school or not, you do not call the board members at that point, do you?
I do not.
You just make that decision.
Correct.
So I feel that you could have made that decision without any board input on it.
Was you including, when you say staff, when you're talking about the teachers coming in early, were you talking about the custodians coming in after them? Were you talking about the cafeteria workers? Were you talking about the custodians? There's other people who work for this district besides the teachers. So let's include every person. Maybe Mr. President was thinking, are we going to pay those people also?
So
we have to have the staff, we have to have the custodians on afternoon shift come in. You know,
what makes them
these teachers
compared to the teachers? What makes the custodians dependable compared to the teachers?
So with no students on campus, I made the decision with no students on campus, adults driving adults' cars and have the ability to leave and inform their loved ones that I may be a little bit late tonight. I'm going to use caution on the way home because of the weather. We thought to avoid the consternation such as Mr. Lake with other bargaining units and with other groups, we asked our staff as safe as it could. We doubled down our work around the buildings, and I applaud our maintenance workers and custodians for cleaning the sidewalks and salting the sidewalks and cleaning the parking lots, and we went with a full day of work for our staffs.
Okay, if there's nothing further, do I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Merry Christmas, and everybody drive safely, please.